they represent his dream today.
How everybody doing?
All right.
Everybody back?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we are happy to join with you in today what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration of freedom on our campus and in our community.
44 years ago, a great American, on whose symbolic shadow we stand today, delivered one of the greatest speeches in the history of our country's lifetime. This historic decree came as a great beacon light of hope to the millions of African Americans who have been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity.
Now, 44 years later, we stand here and say that we are free.
44 years later, the lives of the African American are no longer crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 44 years later,
the African American is no longer living on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity.
44 years later, the African American is no longer languished within the corners of American society, finding themselves exiled in their own land.
And so today we come here to celebrate Dr. King's vision.
August 28, 1963, Dr. King marched to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our nation's republic sat down and wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note. A note to which each and every American was to fall heir.
This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men and white men, will be guaranteed the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. On that day, America had defaulted on this promissory note. And as far as our citizens of color are concerned, instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America had written its Negro people a bad check. A check that came back marked insufficient funds. Well, today, that check has been cashed in.
Dr. King refused to believe that the Bank of Justice was bankrupt. He refused to believe that there were insufficient funds within the great vaults of opportunity in this nation. And so we stand here today to cash this check, a check that gave us upon demand the freedom, the riches of freedom, and the security of justice.
We would like to thank each and every one of you here today who came to celebrate Dr. King's dream.
And so, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, we are still his dream. A dream that is deeply rooted in the American dream.
We are the dream that today this nation is still working to live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident and that all men are created equal.
We're the dream that today we as the human race can sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
We are the dream that today two young men can live in a nation where we are not judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character.
We are the dream. We are the dream that today little black boys and girls can join hands with little white boys and girls as brothers and sisters.
We are the dream. This is Dr. King's hope, and this is a faith that we have all lived with.
The faith to live as one. With this faith, we have been able to work together,
to pray together,
to struggle together,
to go to jail together,
stand for freedom together, knowing that we are all free.
And so, this will be the day when all God's children will sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride.
From every mountainside, let freedom ring.
And if America is to be that great nation, this must become true.
So, freedom rings from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire.
Freedom rings from the mighty mountains of New York.
Freedom rings from the heights and the Alleghenies of Pennsylvania.
Freedom rings from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado.
Freedom rings from the Curvation slopes of California.
But not only that, freedom rings from Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Freedom rings from Lookout Mountain, Tennessee.
Freedom rings from every hill and molehill in Mississippi.
From every mountainside, freedom rings.
And now, we allow freedom to ring.
From every village and every hamlet.
From every state and every city.
We can now speed up that day when all God's children,
black men and white men,
Jews and Gentiles,
Protestants and Catholics,
will join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual.
Free at last, free at last.
Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. And we thank you, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We are free at last.